Hi, my name is Dennis Wade, and I am President and CEO of the Jackson Companies. I've been with the company for 24 years. I started in 1997 as the Chief Financial Officer and was promoted to CEO in 2001, and I've been in that position ever since. My background was financial. I worked for a number of different industries, banking, insurance, and public utilities prior to coming to the Jackson Companies, all of which prepared me for the challenges that I faced in my position here as CFO as well as CEO. The Jackson Companies is a real estate-based operation, private family-owned business here in Myrtle Beach. A couple of their big operations were Ocean Lakes Family Campground, a 300-acre oceanfront campground, Prestwick Country Club, which is the beautiful course behind me, which is a Pete and PB Dye golf course. We developed the residential community, and we have completed that in the early 2000s, but we still own and operate the golf course. And we also have commercial and residential real estate projects here on the south end of Myrtle Beach. The challenge that we faced both in the early 2000s and leading it up until 2015 is we had seen a gradual decline in the membership component at Prestwick Country Club. We were continuing to grow our outside play, but our membership was declining to the point that it became unsustainable. Really just continuing to do the same thing was not going to correct the issue. We needed to change ultimately the structure of the club and to turn it into from a semi-private non-equity facility into a daily fee golf course. That involved a lot of people with input, with potential impacts. We had about 200 members at the time when we made the structural change with the club. It involved our board of directors, our shareholders, our entire executive team, and it was due to the degree of impacts that we faced. We really needed to make a quick decision, quick announcement, as there were impacts that were not going to be favorable to many of the parties. One of the challenges that we faced after we met with the ownership and after we met with the board of directors, we had to go into execution mode with the strategy of changing the structural model at Prestwick. And so obviously we had human resource impacts that we were going to be dealing with. We had financial impacts that we were going to be dealing with. The golf community, the fact that we had members, the fact that we had outside play. The potential ramifications were significant to all of those constituents, if you will, to the decisions that we were making. Our board approved, and the board and the shareholders of the company approved moving forward with the plan at the August board meeting with a plan of having everything completed by the end of December. Our management team had gone through a number of strategic assessments of the Prestwick business. The golf market was changing significantly here in Myrtle Beach. A lot of golf courses were being acquired and were changing ownership. Our owners did not want to do that at the present time. So the decision that we made was to essentially unwind our membership structure within Prestwick. So we went from having about 200 members to not having any members and convert the club into a daily fee golf course. But also at the same time allow the members that participated in the tennis and swim facility to really focus that more on the community, the residential community, and we relinquished control of that, the switch over. We spent considerable time, our management team spent considerable time really evaluating all options that were available. It was a very, very complex and a very difficult decision, just considering that we knew that we were impacting 200 plus members. We also knew that we were going to be impacting the community, the Prestwick community, but we knew that we couldn't sustain the model that we were currently working under. And so there was a lot of financial analysis, there was a lot of planning that went into effect because some of our teammates that worked for the company, it would impact their employment. going forward, and we also had a group of about 200 members that were going to lose their membership. Now with that, we actually, if they had paid an initiation fee for their membership, we actually reimbursed them for that. And so there were some that were happy, some that weren't happy whenever we made that decision. But we really needed to bring all of that together in a fairly short time frame, and we did that in the summer of 2015. We had to contemplate where our business would come from the daily fee business here in Myrtle Beach, and that has turned out to be a positive. But we also had our tennis and swim operations were shutting down. We were no longer going to operate that. We actually gave that to the Prestwick community as part of the restructuring, and that was to help offset, as you would probably suspect, some of the negative and potentially could have actually stopped the decision from moving forward. But what we tried to do was to at least give the people that were impacted by these decisions, give them opportunities, give them different options. We actually, the membership, we paid their initiation fee, reimbursed their initiation fee. We had a fair number of negative feedback, but I think in the end, in the Myrtle Beach golf market, it's really, there's only a few very successful private clubs that operate here in this market just because of the number of golf courses that exist. We really tried to make sure that the folks who wanted to play the golf course and continue to live in this community, that there were ways to do that for them to continue to enjoy the golf course. I think the big plus was turning over the tennis and swim to the community, to the residents, instead of having to be a member of that operation. But I think that from the outside play standpoint, it's really freed up tremendous opportunity for us to have success in this business. And our golf course has been in tremendous shape. We've seen our amount of play continue to grow year after year. And there's certain things with just running a membership facility that, I won't say restricts your flexibility, but just staffing, being able to staff efficiently, being able to recruit golfers to the area whenever, a lot of under the membership structure, we had to dedicate the prime tee times to our membership base at times that we could have sold those at a much more financially rewarding level. But I think overall we balanced all of those different factors, and at the end of the day, I think that our owners, the board, everybody would say that it's been a successful decision. It took us a while to get there. It took us a while to for our owners and the board to make the decision to really change the entire structure. But I think the proof has been proven in the 5 or 6 years since we actually made the change at the end of 2015. That we've seen significant progress towards improving the viability of this business. There were 2 lessons that we learned. Is we probably spent more time analyzing and trying to make sure that it was going to be successful. At the end of the day, it was still, there were risks associated with the strategy that we were moving towards. There was risk associated with maintaining the current club the way it was. And so there was a point we just had to make the decision. But the other piece was, anything I think that I've found in business is you've got to communicate. And that was probably the biggest plus of the outcome of this restructuring. Was we communicated it, we were very upfront, and we were trying to be very transparent, and I think that people recognize that and realize that. As we went through the process in executing the strategy, it really became critical for me to rely on the expertise and diversity of the executive team. Our HR involvement was critical to making sure that we treated everyone who was impacted very fairly. The other members of the executive team, a lot of it was we didn't have complete agreement, and that's one of the things that I really expected was, even if you don't necessarily know all the nuances of what the issue is, is I want their input. It comes to a point where I realize that ultimately I've got to make that call. And again, I didn't want to have 100% agreement. I wanted to have different perspectives and different views. I think at the end of the whole process, it was a growth opportunity for me to be able to make the decision, to rely on my team, and to also make sure that we had the trust of the shareholders and the board. It was probably, since I've been in the position as CEO, it's probably one of the more difficult decisions that we had to make structurally within the business. It wasn't a whole lot of fun going through it at the time, but we've proven that we made the right decision. It gives us a lot more flexibility in how we operate the business today versus where we were 6 years ago. I think she's got to trust the process, and that's one of the key things that we did, is just knowing that where we wanted to be and what we needed to do to get there. Some of that is patience to be able to get there, and we've done that. And it helps when you've got a beautiful golf course that is your main product that you're selling.